Trap is a horrible movie, and here's why.
Stop telling stories. Monsters aren't real.
Yes, they are. Mom, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
Plot twists are supposed to catch the audience off guard while still making sense within the story's logic. However, Trap undermines its own suspense by revealing the most significant twist far too early. The revelation that Cooper Adams, the protagonist, is the butcher is a major narrative misstep. The reveal happens without proper foreshadowing or tension building. Ideally, the film should have laid subtle clues about Cooper's true nature, creating a growing sense of unease in the audience. Instead, the twist is dropped abruptly, leaving no room for suspense to build. This not only kills the tension, but also prevents the audience from engaging with the story on a deeper level, as they are not given time to piece together the mystery themselves. Once the twist is revealed, the film could have explored Cooper's duality, how he reconciles being both a caring father and a cold-blooded killer. But Trap doesn't dive into this psychological complexity. For instance, scenes that could have shown Cooper grappling with guilt or compartmentalizing his violent impulses are completely absent. This lack of exploration renders the twist hollow because it doesn't add layers to Cooper's character or the narrative. The twist serves more as a plot mechanic rather than an insight into the human psyche. After the initial reveal, the film's subsequent twists feel telegraphed and lack impact. Rachel's betrayal, where she leaves the torn ticket receipt for the police, is one such twist that could have been deep, emotional, and character-driven. However, because the film doesn't invest time in developing Rachel's suspicions or her internal conflict, her actions feel unmotivated. We aren't given a chance to see her dilemma or the build-up to her decision, which robs the twist of its potential emotional weight. The twist involving Cooper's hallucination of his mother, which turns out to be Dr. Grant, lacks coherence. The film hints at Cooper having unresolved issues with his mother, but it never delves into his psyche to justify such a significant hallucination. In a better-crafted film, this scene could have been a climactic moment of character revelation, shedding light on the roots of Cooper's psychopathy. Instead, it feels like a last-minute attempt to inject depth into a shallow narrative. There's no psychological build-up, making the twist feel tacked on rather than an organic part of the story. Character development is essential for the audience to connect with the story, and in a thriller, understanding the characters' motivations and backstories is key to creating suspense. Trap fails to develop its characters in meaningful ways, leaving them feeling flat and one-dimensional.
May I have my phone?
As the protagonist and antagonist rolled into one, Cooper should have been a complex character. The film hints at him being an ordinary man with a dark secret, but it never explores the duality of his life. For example, we don't see how Cooper manages to maintain his facade as a loving father while hiding his murderous tendencies. Riley, Cooper's daughter, is more of a plot device than a fully realized character. She exists to create tension, particularly in the scenes where Cooper uses her to gain access to restricted areas or as leverage against Lady Raven. However, the film doesn't explore her relationship with her father beyond the superficial. For instance, how does Riley feel about her father's overprotectiveness? Does she sense something off about him? These are questions that could have added layers to her character and the narrative, but are never addressed. Riley's potential as a character, who could have added emotional stakes to the story, is wasted. Lady Raven's role as the pop star who ends up outwitting Cooper could have been a strong counterpoint to his character. However, she's portrayed in a shallow and inconsistent manner. The film introduces her as a confident and savvy celebrity, yet she quickly falls into the role of a typical damsel in distress. Her knowledge about the FBI operation and her ability to outsmart Cooper seem convenient rather than earned. If the film had taken the time to develop her backstory, perhaps showing her as someone who has faced and overcome past traumas, it would have made her actions more believable and her character more engaging. As it stands, she feels like a plot mechanism rather than a fully realized person. Dr. Grant embodies the overused trope of the troubled, yet brilliant FBI profiler. This character type is common in thrillers, but Trap does nothing new with it. The film hints at her having some personal connection to the case, possibly rooted in her own past traumas, but it doesn't explore these elements. As a result, her character comes off as a stock figure who exists only to advance the plot. Her insights into Cooper's mind are delivered in a perfunctory manner, lacking the depth and nuance that could have made her a compelling character. Pacing is crucial in maintaining the audience's engagement, especially in a thriller where the balance between building tension and delivering action is key. Trap suffers from erratic pacing, which disrupts the flow of the narrative and undermines the suspense. The concert, which should have been a tense and thrilling sequence, is drawn out with unnecessary scenes that don't contribute to the narrative. For example, Riley's selection as the Dreamer Girl is a subplot that consumes a significant portion of the film's runtime, but adds little to the story. This sequence could have been trimmed to focus more on the mounting tension as Cooper tries to evade the police, but instead, it slows down the momentum and dilutes the suspense. The middle portion of the film is particularly problematic. After the initial reveal of Cooper's identity, the story meanders through scenes that lack purpose or direction. The subplot involving Riley's leukemia, for instance, is introduced but never explored or resolved. It feels like a half-hearted attempt to add emotional depth, but without proper development, it ends up feeling irrelevant. This lack of focus in the midsection creates a lull in the narrative, making it difficult for the audience to stay invested. When the film does try to ramp up the tension, it often fails to sustain it. For example, the sequence where Cooper sets off an explosion and escapes to the roof should be a high-stakes moment. However, the film cuts between this action and slower scenes that undermine the sense of urgency. The constant shifts between moments of tension and slower dialogue-heavy scenes create a disjointed experience. The audience is pulled in and out of the suspense, preventing them from becoming fully immersed in the story. Maintaining a consistent tone is vital for creating a cohesive narrative. Trap struggles with tonal consistency, which leads to a confusing viewing experience.
What's it like to do a concert? I'm a theater teacher for the 5th graders. It must be so much work, I can't even imagine.
It was actually very strange today.
The film tries to juggle multiple genres: psychological thriller, crime drama, and family melodrama, but fails to blend them effectively. For instance, scenes involving Cooper's family life are often warm and sentimental, contrasting sharply with the dark, violent moments when he acts as the butcher. These shifts in tone are not handled with the subtlety required to make them feel intentional. Instead, they come across as jarring, disrupting the narrative flow and leaving the audience unsure of how to feel. The film's attempts at psychological horror, particularly in the hallucination scene, feel out of place. Psychological horror relies on a consistent atmosphere of unease and dread, but Trap doesn't establish this atmosphere. The hallucination, where Cooper imagines Dr. Grant as his mother, is meant to be unsettling, but without prior build-up, it feels more confusing than horrifying. The film hasn't laid the groundwork for this moment, making it feel disjointed from the rest of the narrative. The film frequently resorts to convenient plot devices to move the story forward. For example, Lady Raven's ability to outsmart Cooper by live streaming the location of his victim feels contrived rather than clever. The ease with which she acquires and uses the information needed to foil Cooper's plans undermines the credibility of the story. These conveniences reduce the stakes, as the audience knows that the characters will always find a way out of danger without much struggle or consequence. A film's visual style can often compensate for narrative shortcomings, but in Trap, the cinematography and direction fail to elevate the material.
Try to forgive them. Say to yourself, I release you. And if you feel you have, I want you to turn on the light on your phones.
The film's visual presentation is surprisingly dull for a thriller. The cinematography lacks creativity, relying on standard, uninspired shots that do little to enhance the tension or mood. For example, the scene set during the concert could have been shot in a way that conveyed the chaos and claustrophobia of the situation, but instead, they are framed in a pedestrian manner that feels more like a TV drama than a cinematic thriller. This lack of visual flair leaves the film feeling bland and unengaging. The film could have used visual symbolism to deepen its themes or to provide insight into Cooper's psyche. For instance, the concert venue, the tunnels, and the family home could have been shot in ways that reflect Cooper's internal state or the duality of his life. However, the direction fails to take advantage of these opportunities, resulting in a film that feels visually uninspired. The lack of metaphorical or symbolic imagery makes the film feel literal and shallow, missing a chance to add layers of meaning. The direction is also inconsistent, as the film struggles to maintain a coherent tone. The shifts between tense thriller moments and family drama are not handled smoothly, leading to a disjointed viewing experience. A more skilled director might have found a way to balance these elements, creating a film that seamlessly transitions between different moods and genres. Unfortunately, Trap lurches from one tone to another, which makes it difficult for the audience to stay emotionally invested in the story. A missed opportunity. Trap ultimately falls short in delivering a compelling, cohesive thriller. The film's over-reliance on clichés, lack of character development, incoherent tone, and uninspired visual style combine to create a final product that is both unoriginal and unengaging. What could have been a tense, character-driven psychological thriller instead becomes a forgettable and disappointing entry in M. Night Shyamalan's filmography. The lack of innovation and depth in the story and characters leaves the audience with little to connect to or care about, making Trap a frustrating experience for fans of the genre.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.